Hello, whether you're watching Al24 English News Edition, coming to you live from Algiers, and to the headlines. Tunisia's Coast Guard has recovered 15 more bodies of migrants, bringing the death toll from a shipwreck of Tunisia to 25 casualties drowned. In Africa, still Sudan's army led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan calls the deployment of militias a dangerous turning point in the country. The Black Sea will never be a NATO sea, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Thursday after Ukraine's foreign minister urged the Atlantic Alliance to play a bigger security role in the region. And yet, in Paris, hundreds of thousands of protesters marched across France on Thursday on the eve of crucial ruling over Macron's pension reform. Hello again and welcome. Italy and Tunisia agreed to counter the flow of irregular migration in the Mediterranean. This comes as Tunisia's Coast Guard has recovered 15 more bodies of migrants, bringing the death toll from the shipwreck of Tunisia to 25. Nabil Khassini.
The journey very often starts in the midst of darkness. Every one of these migrants has a story and a hope to cross this stretch of water. But the flow of irregular migrants in the Mediterranean Sea has dramatically risen in the last months. To cope with the surge in migrants arriving, Italy's right-wing government declared a 6-month national state of emergency. Since the beginning of the year, Italy has been facing an increasing number of migrants arriving on its shores. According to the Italian Interior Ministry figures, more than 28,000 migrants have arrived in Italy since the start of the year, almost 4 times the number of those who arrived over the same period in 2022.
We are still disembarking. The most important part is the one concerning medical testing that we are performing with our medical staff. We are taking care of those who are sick, then we work on where to host them. We distribute shoes and food. Later, we transfer the people to Forsyth Hub, where we hope they will have to wait as little as possible before they are relocated across Italy.
On the other side of the Mediterranean Sea, Tunisia's Coast Guard said that at least 25 people have died after a boat carrying people from sub-Saharan Africa towards Europe sank off the coast of Tunisia. This comes as the Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said that the IMF should approve an initial unconditional bailout package for Tunisia, with further payments dependent on reforms.
Our proposal is to start financing Tunisia through the Monetary Fund and deliver, after a first tranche, a second tranche, as the reforms proceed.
Migrants, mostly from sub-Saharan Africa, use Tunisia's coastline, less than 150 kilometers from the Italian island of Lampedusa, as a springboard for attempts to reach Europe. Thousands of them pass away in the middle of the sea.
A report prepared by the Canadian research laboratory Citizen Lab revealed that Morocco has contracted with the new Zionist espionage company, which is appreciated by spies, cybercriminals, and some political regimes for its effectiveness in hacking electronic devices. Before the Pegasus scandal reveals all its details, the Moroccan regime is acquiring another Zionist spy program, which is used to spy on phones and devices of journalists, human rights activists, and others. The Chief of Staff of People's National Army, General Said Changriha, was received by the Brazilian Minister of Defense, José Monteiro, to whom he handed in a message from the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, to his Brazilian counterpart, Lula da Silva. A press release from the Ministry of National Defense said that the meeting took place on the 3rd day of Mr. Changriha's visit to Brazil, where he participated in the Defense and Security exhibition. The Algerian Senegalese Bank got the approval of all Senegalese monetary authorities to be the first Algerian public bank to obtain a license to operate abroad, with a capital of $100 million as part of Algerian efforts to launch 3 international banks in Mauritania and France soon. On Thursday, the Algerian mines complex Manal signed a memorandum of cooperation with the Turkish company Tواصل as part of partnership to establish an institution for the valuation of iron ore in Gharjbilat mine. The director of the Algerian mines complex, Mohamed Harami, confirmed in his speech that the establishment of this company will allow the production of 500,000 tons of iron ore as first stage, provided that the joint company between the two sides will be serving, or rather, a service starting from 2025. The transitional authorities in Burkina Faso decreed on Thursday the general mobilization in order to give the state of all necessary means to deal with the terrorist attacks besetting the country. The authorities also declared the warning, which, according to security sources, includes a set of measures decided by the head of state aimed at ensuring the freedom of action of the government to guarantee the security of mobilization operations or the activation of armed forces. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius and Development Minister Savanja Schulz said that Thursday Germany intends to withdraw its troops from Mali within a period of 9 to 12 months. For its part, the German Minister of Development stressed the importance of her country's civil assistance to Mali since its independence, and that cooperation for development would continue even if military engagement ceased. In Africa still, the Sudanese army warned Thursday that the country was at a dangerous stage following the deployment of paramilitary rapid support forces in Khartoum and key cities, while efforts to return the transition were in place. In a statement, Sudanese Armed Forces spokesperson Nabil Abdullah Ali Mohammed said that the rapid Sudanese forces movement represents a clear violation of law.
The responsibility of protecting the safety and security of the country falls on the shoulders of the armed forces according to the constitution and law, supported by different state bodies. The law has organized how this support is offered. Depending on this, we should raise the alarm. Our country is going through a dangerous and historic turn, which increases by moves by the leadership of mobilization of forces and redeployment of the rapid support forces inside the capital and other cities.
To the Middle East now, the Zionist occupation forces launched a campaign of arrests in the occupied West Bank. The official Palestinian news agency said that the occupation forces stormed several neighborhoods and arrested 12 Palestinians. The foreign ministers of Palestine and Jordan denounced the violations of the occupation authorities in the holy places. Turkey and Egypt have agreed on improving bilateral ties and raising diplomatic representation to the level of embassies. The announcement was made by Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu, who added that enhancing relations with Cairo will also benefit the whole region. For his part, Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry indicated that his talks with Çavuşoğlu were centered on strengthening bilateral relations and expanding cooperation in the political and economic and cultural fields.
With regard to raising diplomatic representations to the level of embassies, we are taking concrete measures. We decided in Cairo to work together on this matter over the next months. We will inform you through a joint statement, and until then we will continue to take concrete measures, and allow me to say that there are no problems.
To the European continent now, the Russian army announced on Thursday that it had besieged Ukrainian forces in the city of Bakhmut. Moscow's defense ministry said its soldiers were blocking the transfer of the Ukrainian army reinforcements to the city and the possibility of retreat for enemy units. Ukraine denied the report but admitted the situation in Bakhmut was very difficult.
On the
Donetsk axis, Wagner assault detachments continued high-intensity combat operations to oust the enemy from the central quarters of the city of Artyomovsk. The airborne troops provide support to the assault detachments on the flanks, blocking the transfer of Ukrainian reserves to the city and the possibility of enemy units retreating from Artyomovsk.
Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba on Thursday urged the West to turn the Black Sea into a sea of NATO. A year after sinking a flagship Russian warship, the Black Sea and its Ukrainian coast have been crucial theaters of war since Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year. Both Moscow and Kiev rely on the sea for trade, including supplying grain markets as two of the world's biggest food exporters.
It is time to work out a comprehensive security network for all nations of the region that feel threatened by the maniac on the loose. It's time to turn Black Sea into what the Baltic Sea has become, a sea of NATO.
Within the same matter, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Thursday that the Black Sea will never be controlled by the alliance. This came as the Kremlin responded to Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba's comment about making the Black Sea a NATO sea. Peskov also confirmed that there are currently no scheduled phone calls between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping. He repeated that provoking China is unacceptable, referring to escalating crisis between China and Taiwan.
NATO and demilitarization are mutually exclusive concepts. The Black Sea will never be a NATO sea. It is a common sea for all the coastal states. It should be a sea of cooperation, interaction and security.
In a meeting in the Uzbek city of Samarkand, Chinese and Russian foreign ministers on Thursday discussed the Ukrainian crisis. Chinese foreign minister told his Russian counterpart that there is no panacea for resolving the crisis and that China will continue to play a constructive role in promoting a political settlement and restarting peace talks. Lavrov said at the beginning of the talks in Samarkand that Russia and China should intensify efforts in all areas of cooperation. The Russian presidency threatened to withdraw from the agreement to export grain and fertilizers from the Black Sea port if Western obstacles to Russian exports were not removed. The Russian Foreign Ministry stipulated that progress be made in resolving the 5 basic problems related to the grain deal in order for Moscow's agreement to extend beyond 18th of next May. In Europe still, but in a different path, thousands of demonstrators took to the streets of various French cities to protest against the amendment of the retirement law ahead of Constitutional Council's decision. Hossein Burkan.
French Constitutional Council will issue a decision on whether the draft law that would raise the retirement age by 2 years to 64 doesn't contradict the Constitution. On the 12th day of the protests, clashes and confrontations broke out between the police and the demonstrators. The protesters expressed their rejection of the pension reform law through various means such as blocking roads, burning and looting. These scenes have been repeated over the past 12 days of the protest against the pension system reform, organized by the French unions on the eve of the crucial decision.
It is clear that we do not want to see any violent expression or any pressure of any kind that could burden the institutions of the Republic. Therefore, the Constitutional Council has the right to be serious in its discussions and to respect everyone's decision, whatever it might be.
While awaiting the decision from the Constitutional Council, the French president revealed his intention to hold a meeting with the unions to work on other proposals. The Confederation of Labour confirmed that this initiative would not last long if Macron was not ready to reconsider the amendment of the retirement system.
There is money in the pockets of employers, a very big business owners. We are not talking about small or medium-sized business owners. We are talking about billionaires. So one solution to financing the pension system is a better redistribution of wealth, and the best way to do that is by taxing billionaires.
The strikes and demonstrations have lost some momentum, and the participation in the demonstration has declined compared to the previous times. However, more than 1 million people have participated, and the streets continue to boil. The tension and political impasse escalate between the government and the street until the weaker party is broken regarding one of the most controversial bills in the history of the Fifth Republic.
In what is believed to be the most serious security breach in decades, the FBI on Thursday arrested Jack Douglas, a 21-year-old member of the U.S. Air National Guard, over the leak of online classified documents that embarrassed Washington with allies around the world. More Leo.
On Thursday, the FBI arrested an employee of the U.S. Air Force National Guard over the leaks online of classified U.S. documents that embarrassed Washington with allies around the world. Some of the most sensitive leaked details are purportedly related to Ukraine's military capabilities and shortcomings, and information about U.S. allies including so-called Israel, South Korea, and Turkey.
Today, the Justice Department arrested Jack Douglas Teixeira in connection with an investigation into alleged unauthorized removal, retention, and transmission of classified national defense information.
The Department of Justice opened a formal criminal probe last week, and the Pentagon is assessing the damage done by what may be the most damaging release of classified U.S. information in years.
This was a deliberate criminal act, a violation of those guidelines. And so, again, I think that's important to understand. Now, we will continue to do everything we can to ensure that people who have a need to know when it comes to this kind of information have access to that.
President Joe Biden commented early on Thursday on the matter for the first time and expressed concern over the sensitive government documents that had been leaked.
I'm not concerned about the leakages, and I'm concerned that it happened. But there's nothing contemporaneous that I'm aware of that is of great consequence.
The U.S. has seen multiple major leaks and scandals involving classified information in recent years. However, analysts have said the recent leak risks exposing intelligence sources and could cause a diplomatic headache for Washington.
Former President Donald Trump has arrived at the offices of New York's Attorney General for his second deposition in a legal battle over his company's business practices. The Republican was scheduled to meet Thursday with lawyers for Attorney General Letitia James, who sued Trump last year over misleading banks and others about the value of his assets. Trump and his lawyers said the Democrats' lawsuit against him is politically motivated. Trump met once previously with James' lawyers but refused to answer questions, invoking his Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination. And now more international news in this roundup by Mohammed Khatou.
During a meeting with the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party on Thursday in Shanghai, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva emphasized the significance of the relationship between his nation and China. After 4 tense years under the rule of his far-right predecessor Jair Bolsonaro, Brazil's leftist president is in China to restore relations with its biggest trading partner. He will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing today, Friday. A bridge collapsed on Wednesday in the western Colombian region of Val del Cauca, causing 2 deaths and 15 injuries. According to local media sources, the bridge that connects Quindío and Val del Cauca fell across the La Vieja River. Rescue personnel were dispatched to the scene immediately after the accident. Ireland's top rally driver Craig Breen has died after an accident in a pre-event test for the Croatian round of the World Championship, as his Hyundai team reported. According to media, Breen's car went off the road and collided with a pole while the 33-year-old was preparing for next week's rally, his second of the season. Breen becomes now the first fatality in the World Championship since German junior co-driver Jörg Bastuk in the 2006 rally in Catalonia. Manufacturers and sellers of incense are in full swing during the holy fasting month of Ramadan, when purchases for the sweet-smelling smoke increase. Incense is famous year-round in Egypt, and many Muslims in Ramadan adorn their homes and shops with it during the day and night, usually accompanied by Quran recitations and prayers.
Ending up our news bulletin with some sports events. Manchester United wasted a 2-goal lead at Old Trafford to keep their Europa League quarter-final, with Sevilla carefully poised after the first leg. Marco Emile Sapitzer opened scoring within the first 15 minutes. The Australian player added a second 7 minutes later as Anthony Martial picked him out in the box and faced a fine effort into the far corner to give United control in the dominant first half. In the second half, Sevilla grew into the game, and Jesus Navas forced an own goal to get the visitors back into the match, before an unfortunate Harry Maguire deflected the header past David De Gea to earn the Spanish team a golden, unexpected draw. And the results of today's games of the Europa League as follow in this table. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for being with us. For more updates, you can follow our social media platforms. And all I can say at the end, صحة حولكم and good night.